right to demand an explanation. All that prevented her from picking up the phone and doing just that right now was the irrefutable fact that Richard had never steered her wrong, not once. Jill sagged against the headrest and let the cool air wash over her. Their relationship had started as one of diligent law professor and eager student, but had quickly developed into more. Regret trickled through her. No one had been to blame. Not really. It simply happened. Her father had died, and she'd needed someone to fill that void, one that had started expanding well before his death. Though she'd left home practically before the ink dried on her high school diploma, Jill could still remember the look of stark disappointment on her father's face. He hadn't agreed with her decision, and they had scarcely spoken after that. His death had hit her hard. She forced herself to breathe, blinked back the emotions that crowded in on her even now when she thought of her father. The relationship with her mother was an entirely different story. She and Jill had never been close. That position had belonged to her sister Kate. Another old familiar ache swelled inside Jill. Jesus! Why was she rehashing ancient history? Her nephew was missing, her sister was in serious trouble on more than one level, and Jill wasn't sure she could fix any of it. As an attorney, she was aware of the pitfalls of emotional involvement in a case, yet with every fiber of her being, she needed to do something. To be out there searching for her nephew, her chest ached. To be at her sister's bedside, trying to reach her. Kate would never have harmed her child. The entire concept was utterly ridiculous. The ache in her chest twisted deeper. How could Cody have simply vanished? Surely someone had seen or heard something. The real question was, why hadn't she been here? No matter how logically Jill considered the situation, it felt exactly as if it was her fault. She should have been here. Tears burned her eyes. Why hadn't she come home 2 months ago when her sister called and practically begged her to visit? Jill had sensed Kate's urgency even then, but she'd been too busy with work to worry about her sister, the stay-at-home mother and wife, the perfect daughter. Jill had opted not to worry. Kate had their mother, who hovered over her like a Secret Service team monitoring the president. What did she need with Jill? In her defense, the caseload just kept getting in the way, in spite of her best intentions. On the rare occasions when she managed time for a visit to paradise, all those old feelings of inadequacy and failure resurrected. She never measured up, felt unwanted, like an outsider. So she avoided coming more often than not. A decades-old hurt tightened around her chest, making it hard to breathe. As children, she and her sister had been inseparable. The Appalachian Mountains that bordered their little town held a kind of magic about them, a mystique that went beyond the clouds that hugged their craggy peaks and the greenery that draped their sloping shoulders. She and Kate had played like little fairies, flitting from one secret place in the woods and meadows to another. Jill had gone over every one of those secret places with the chief of police. There was no sign of her nephew at any of those locations. How could one little boy be so hard to find in such a small town, a place where everyone knew everyone else? Each hour that Cody remained missing lessened the likelihood of his being found unharmed. Along with most of Paradise's police force, 3 teams of local citizens were out looking for him. An Amber Alert had been issued. Cody's picture had been run on the area news channels, along with a plea for help in finding him. The chief had assured her there was nothing else to be done, except pray, and she'd done plenty of that. An older model Land Rover that had once been white parked at the curb behind Jill's Lexus. She drew her thoughts away from the hurt and focused on her rearview mirror. It was him. About damn time. According to Richard, Dr. Paul Phillips could be the answer to her prayers. As much as she wanted to believe her old friend was right, she'd read too much last night to be encouraged. Richard hadn't exaggerated Phillips's reputation, at least not from the early years of his career as a forensic psychologist with the FBI. His list of solved cases from a decade ago